Hare Krishna. So today is the very auspicious disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's wonderful spiritual master who instructed him to take Krishna consciousness around the world. So, first of all, we're going to sing Ye Anilo Premadhana. And there are songbooks there. Could you please get a book for me? Thanks. Jayanilo Premadhana Karuna Praju Jayanilo Premadhana Karuna Praju Eno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Eno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Kahamora Svarup Rupa Kahasanata Kahadasara Gunata Patita Pava Kahamora Bhata Yura Kahakaviraj Eka Kaliko Tagela Gauranatara Pasane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashivo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kotagele Babo Sesava Sangira Sangye Ye Koila Vilas Sisangana Paya Kande Narotamada Jaya Nilo Prema Dhana Karuna Prachur Ena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Jaya Vaishnav 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 Thakur Jaya Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Jaya Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, on these festival days we read about the pastimes and character of the personality. So we'll be reading from a ray of Vishnu. And devotees can pass the book around and read some excerpts, and then we'll intersperse that with some bhajans, because as we know, his father, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, has penned so many beautiful bhajans that are in the bhajan book, and there's also a song actually by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta on the disciplic succession here. Would you like to start, Rampasad, with it? So, yeah, there's a line there somewhere. Just there. Thanks.
In 1929, Srila Saraswati Thakura began a program to glorify the holy places sanctified by the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by establishing 108 Pada Pita memorials of the footprints of the Lord in various places where he travelled and preached. He established one such Pada Pita at Kanai and one at Mandar in Benares. While installing a Pada Pita, he also gave a lecture on the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Sanatana Goswami on the site of the actual spot where those talks were held. In January of 1930, Srila Saraswati Thakura installed deities of Radha and Govinda at the Triveni on the occasion of the Purna Kumbh Mela, and he sent out his team of preachers in the area to enlighten people. His preaching work was increasingly more organized. His teams would canvass from door to door, asking for contributions, selling subscriptions to their magazines, starting centers, making devotees, etc. Srila Saraswati Thakura was making lecture tours, talking with intellectuals and scholars of the day, presiding over installations of deities, initiations and festivals, organized for diorama exhibitions, temple openings, prasadam distribution, etc. Meanwhile, his presses were rolling, producing books. He was even meeting with the English governors, viceroys, Indian kings, etc., and encouraging them to assist in the opening of his temples and projects. Of course, this was frowned upon by some of the nationalists and religious purists. But Srila Saraswati Thakura was far removed from the bodily concept of life. His idea was to involve and purify everyone in the flood of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In February of 1930, a tremendous diorama exhibition called the Sridham Mayapur Navadvip exhibition was opened in that holy site, which contained many stalls exhibiting the stories and lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It created a sensation. Thousands flocked to see it, and it remained open for a month and a half. On October of 1930, there was a magnificent installation ceremony of Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda and Radha Gopinath at the Gaudiya Math in Bagh Bazar, Calcutta. A palatial marble temple had been constructed with the help of a wealthy Vaishnav merchant. This was Srila Saraswati Thakura's practical exhibition of the principle of Yukta Vairagya, that is, to utilize the material energy for Krishna's purposes. Although previously Vaishnavas tended to avoid the cities and live in seclusion, Srila Saraswati Thakura's idea was to have his sannyas and brahmachari preachers go to the cities and establish temples and tend to the spiritual welfare of the masses. Thus the small beginnings in Calcutta at number 1 Ultadanga Junction Road had culminated in a magnificent temple with a conference hall for discourses, many rooms, a library, a press, etc. Srila Saraswati Thakura's ideas were considered revolutionary. Sannyasis riding in motor cars, wearing sewn cloth, buying the most modern printing presses, staging huge exhibitions with dioramas illustrating the profound philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nothing like it had ever been attempted before. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had laid the groundwork by reviving interest in Vaishnav thought, establishing its credibility and respectability. Publishing the books of the Goswamis of Vrindavan, and also creating his own brilliant transcendental storehouse of Vaishnava literature, poetry, songs, and deep philosophical tracts. Now Saraswati Thakura was distributing it, publicizing it, writing books and creating a sensation. His activities were that of an empowered preacher. He preached to the intellectuals all over India at exhibitions, established many temples, established padapitas, wrote many books, published magazines, held huge festivals, re-established holy places, installed deities. He burned with the desire to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's mission to spread Krishna consciousness all over the earth.
In June of 1932, he visited the Maharaj of Mysore and stayed as a guest in his Ramya palace, where he delivered a series of discourses about Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. He then preached in Bangalore and then traveled to Kovur, where he installed deities near the transcendental site of the conversations between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy. In October and November of 1932, the circumambulation of Rajmandala was held, accompanied by many thousands of pilgrims. Srila Sarasvati Thakura toured all over the sacred places of Krishna's pastimes and engaged constantly in chanting the name and glories of the Lord on the actual sites of the Lord's pastimes. The pilgrimage required massive organization with many tents, moving kitchens, stage equipment, animals, etc. The pilgrims would rise early, chant and proceed in a huge procession with kirtan, accompanying the deities of Lord Chaitanya. A police band, a lead horse, flag bearers, and all of the followers. At night, a city of tents would be erected, kirtan and discourse areas would be set up, along with the kitchen, and there was even a system of guards for the tent. However, the pilgrimage encountered opposition in the form of the Vrindavan temple proprietors, the Kas Goswamis, who objected to Srila Sarasvati Thakur's awarding of Brahminical status to those who were not born in Brahmin families. Although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had established his practice strictly in accordance with the teachings of the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who was one of the founding fathers of the present town of Vrindavan, still the Pandas did not approve what they considered the deviation of giving Brahman and sannyas initiation to members of lower castes. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada wrote an extensive reply to Achyutananda Swami in 1970, explaining some of the background of this controversy. Regarding the validity of the Brahminical status as we accept it, because in the present age there is no observance of the Govardhan ceremony. Even a person born in a Brahmin family is not considered a Brahmana. He is called Dvija Bandhu, or unqualified son of a Brahmana. Under the circumstances, the conclusion is that the whole population is now Sudra, as it is stated, Kala Sudra Sambhava. So for Sudras, there is no initiation according to the Vedic system, but according to the Panchatriki system, initiation is offered to a person who is inclined to take Krishna consciousness. During my Guru Maharaj's time, even a person was coming from a Brahmin family, he was initiated according to the Panchatriki system, taking him to be a Sudra. So the birthright Brahmanism is not applicable at the present moment. The sacred thread inaugurated by my Guru Maharaj according to the Panchatrika system and Hari Bhakti Vilas by Srila Sanatana Goswami must continue. It does not matter whether the priestly class accept it or not. When my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupada, introduced this system, it was protested even by his inner circle of God brothers and friends. Of course, he had actually no God brothers, but there were many disciples of Bhaktivinoda Thakur who were considered as God brothers who protested against this action of my Guru Maharaj, but he didn't care for it. Actually, one who takes to chanting Hare Krishna mantra offenselessly immediately becomes situated transcendentally, and therefore he has no need to become initiated with sacred thread. But Guru Maharaj introduced this sacred thread because a Vaishnava was being mistaken as belonging to the material class. To accept a Vaishnava in material caste system is hellish consideration, naraki buddhi. Therefore, to save the general populace from being offenders to a Vaishnava, he persistently introduces sacred thread ceremony, and we must follow his footsteps. This system, introduced by my Guru Maharaj, is a chance for all the members of the society, scientifically based and applied, apart from the exploitative sentiments of birthright caste system, to become actually situated on the transcendental platform. The Pandits met with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, and a discussion took place. Although the Pandits appeared satisfied with the talks, when the parikram reached the 7 main temples, the doors were closed. Shopkeepers closed their shops, and some people even threw stones at them. Finally, they reached a Koshi. It was at this point at the pilgrimage that Srila Prabhupada met Srila Sarasvati Thakura, having traveled from Allahabad, and he sat with rapt attention, hearing him speak for many hours. And it was at this time that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura marked him. He likes to hear, he does not go away. The pilgrimage was unprecedented in scope, almost like a moving city. The 108-mile circumambulation took from the 9th of October to the 11th of November. During the Radhakund portion of the tour, a wonderful discourse was discovered by the ecstatic preacher, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya's mercy, who delivers devotional service which is enriched with conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of revelation of Srila Rupa Goswami. At the junction of Radha and Shyamakund, on the subject of Sri Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, a large audience of Vrajvasis and Pandits were fortunate enough to hear him speak. At the conclusion of the parikram, Srila Sarasvati Thakura proceeded to Allahabad, where he oversaw the laying of the foundational stone for Sri Rupa Gaudiya Math in Allahabad. Sri Malcolm Haley, the governor of UP, was on hand for the occasion and personally laid the cornerstone in Srila Sarasvati Thakura's presence. It was there that Srila Prabhupada received first and second initiation from Srila Sarasvati Thakura, who was pleased to see him. When he was presented as a candidate for initiation, Srila Sarasvati Thakura commented, "Yes, he likes to hear, he does not go away. I have marked him, I will make him my disciple." Srila Sarasvati Thakura's preaching was going on in a big way. He had teams of sannyasis and brahmacharis constantly traveling and preaching, distributing magazines and books, establishing centers, arranging programs, etc. A corps of 18 sannyasis were organizing things. His propaganda attracted so many people, from Subhash Chandra Bose, the famous nationalist, and a former classmate of Srila Prabhupada's at Scottish Churches College, met with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura and complained, "So many people you have captured, they are doing nothing for nationalism." The reply, "Well, for your national propaganda, you require very strong men, but these people are very weak. You can see they are very skinny. So don't put your glance upon them. Let them eat something and chant Hare Krishna." Srila Prabhupada commented on this incident. In this way, he avoided him. The kind of revolution Srila Sarasvati Thakura had in mind could not be appreciated by Mr. Bose. In January of 1933, a large diorama exhibition was opened in Dhaka, presently the capital of Bangladesh. It was a part of India called Sat Shiksha. It featured toys, dolls, etc. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave discourses there for 1 month to large crowds of learned and respectable people.
Shuddha Bhakata, page 52. Shuddha Bhakata Charana Reinu Bhajana भक्ति जननी चटन पालन कोरी माधवती भक्ति जननी चटन पालन कृष्ण बसती बसती बोली परम आदर बोरी कृष्ण बसती बसती बोली परम आदर बोरी घोर अमर जे सब स्थान कोरल ब्राह्मण रंगे अमर जे सब स्थान कोरल ब्राह्मण रंगे से सब स्थान हेरी बोआमी प्रणयी भक्त संगे से सब स्थान हेरी मृदंग वाद्य सुनिते मग्न अवसर सदा जाचे वाद्य सुनिते मग्न अवसर सदा जाचे घोर विहित कीर्तन सुनि आनंद हृदय नाचे घोर विहित कीर्तन सुनि आनंद हृदय नाचे जुगल मूर्ति देखिया मोर परम आनंद होया जुगल मूर्ति देखिया मोर परम आनंद होया प्रसाद सेवा कोरिते होया सकल प्रपंच जाया प्रसाद सेवा कोरिबे होया सकल प्रपंच जाया जे दिने गृहे भजन देखी गृहते गोलक बाया जे दिन गृहे भजन देखी गृहते गोलक चरण सिजु देखिया गंगा सुख सीमा पाया चरण सिजु देखिया गंगा सुख सीमा पाया तुलसी देखी जुराया प्राण माधव तोषणी जानी तुलसी देखी जुराया प्राण माधव तोषणी जानी घोरा प्रिय सख सेवान जीवन सार्थक मानी घोरा प्रिय सख सेवान जीवन सार्थक मानी भक्ति विनो कृष्ण भजन अनुकूल पाय जाहा भक्ति विनो कृष्ण भजन अनुकूल पाय जाहा प्रतिदिवासे परम सुखे स्वीकार करो ताहा प्रतिदिवासे परम सुखे स्वीकार करो ताहा शुद्ध भक्त चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल charan renu bhajana anukula. Thus, from the lotus feet of pure devotees is conducive to devotional service, while service to the Vaishnavas is itself the supreme perfection and the root of the tender creeper of divine love.
I observe with great care the holy days like Ekadasi and Janmashtami, for they are the mothers of devotion. As my dwelling place, I choose the greatest of reverence and love, the transcendental abode of Shri Krishna.
All those places where my Lord Gaurasundar travelled for pastimes, I will visit in the company of loving devotees.
Music of Ranga. Upon hearing the kind of kirtan ordained by Lord Gaurachandra, my heart dances in ecstasy.
By beholding the deity's form of the divine couple Sri Sri Radha Krishna, I feel the greatest joy. By honoring the Lord's prasad, I conquer over all worldly illusions.
Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home whenever I see the worship and service of Lord Hari going on there. Upon seeing the Ganges, which is the river of nectar emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, my happiness knows no bounds.
What difference has the book that is conducive for service of Sri Krishna? The absence every day in Krishna. So if we could just move back to the one before that, Kabi Habi Bolo. Kabe habe bolo se jinama. Kabe habe bolo se. Aparada guchi shuddhana maruchi kapri babale habe hridoye sancha. Kabe have bolo se dinama. Chinnadika hina kabe nijemani sahishnuta guna hridayete ani. Sakale manada apani amani hoye ashvajivo namarasa sa. Kabe have bolo se dinama. Kabe have bolo se. Danna jannara kopira sundari boli bona chahide ho sukhakari. Janme janme dao, oh hey gora hariya, hoitu ki bhakti charane tomar. Have have bolo serinava. Korite Shri Krishna namarucharana, pulakita deho gadgara bachana. Vaibanya bepatu ebe sangatana nirantara netre bhave ashrudha. Kabe have bolo serinava. Kabenavadvipe suradhunitate, Gaura Nityananda bole nishkapate. Nachiyadaya bela bochute, batulera prayacharya vichar. Kave have bolo serinava. Kave Nityananda more koridoya, chaya ve mora vishayera maya. Dia more nija charanera chaya, namera hatete dire adhika. Kave have bolo serinava. Kinibo lutibo hari namarasa, namarase mati hoibe pibasha. Rasera rasika charana parasha, koriamo jivo raseaniva. Kave have bolo serinava. Kabe jive doya, hoibe udoya, nija suktya buli sudina hridaya. Bhakati vinoda koriya binoya, Shri Agyata Hala Koribe Prachar. Kave Have Volo Sedinama. Please tell me, when will that day be mine, when my offences will end, and a taste for the pure holy name will be infused within my heart by the power of divine grace.
In January 1935, the governor of Bengal, Sir John Anderson, came to Mayapur and heard about the holy dance from Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. In February, the 61st birthday of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was celebrated in Jagannath Puri, the place of his appearance, and a large meeting was convened, chaired by the king of Jagannath Puri. That was the year that Srila Prabhupada composed his poem and essay, which he submitted to the harmonist for publication. One stanza was particularly pleasing to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved, impersonal calamity thou hast moved. He liked it so much that he showed it to everyone who came to see him. One of Prabhupada's godbrothers compared it to the incident of Srila Rupa Goswami's composing a verse revealing his understanding of the inner thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Sarasvati Thakura liked the essay very much also. He instructed the editor of the Harmonist, whatever he writes, publish it. On the day after the Vyasa Puja ceremony, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura led his followers on a circumambulation of Purushottam Dham, Jagannath Puri, and spoke to them about its glories. On Gaurapanim, he was visited in Mayapur by the king of Tripura, who opened the gate of the Yogapit temple. In April, he travelled to Gaya, where he opened a centre, saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's places of preaching, and gave wonderful lectures to a sophisticated and learned audience. To further spread the waves of Lord Chaitanya's mission, he sent preachers to Burma in the same month. In June, he broadcast, for perhaps the first time by radio, Harinam Sankirtan from the Indian Broadcasting Service Centre in Calcutta. This led to regular Sunday broadcasts of various Gaudiya functions, like live broadcasts of Sankirtan and Bhajan from different parts of Calcutta, the Janmashtami celebration, Nanda Utsav, Radhastami, and the appearance celebration of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In September, the complete edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam was published in 12 cantos with elaborate indexes, word meanings, and Bengali translation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sarata Varshini commentary, Srila Madhvacharya's purports, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's own Vivriti commentary. In October, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur stayed in Radhakund, Vrindavan, for 1 month and lived in a small one-storied house which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had constructed. He spoke to the assembled devotees on the Upanishads, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and he installed deities at the Kunja Bihari Mat. It was at this time that Srila Prabhupada met with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura and heard the prophetic comment, Arjun Jvalbe, there will be fire, in connection with the fighting over rooms which had broken out amongst Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's disciples at the Bagh Bazar Gaudiya Mat. When we were living in a rented house, he said, if we could collect 200 or 300 rupees, we were living very nicely at Utsakdanga. We were happier then. But since we have been given this marble palace in Bagh Bazar, there is friction between our men. Who will occupy this room? Who will occupy that room? Who will be the proprietor of this room? Everyone is planning in different ways. It would be better to take the marble from the walls and secure money. If I could do this and print books, that would be better. Then he turned to Srila Prabhupada and said, Ama Icha Chila Kitchu by Karana. I had a desire to print some books. If you ever get money, print books. Thus, important seeds were planted. On November the 6th, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur established a Puspa Samadhi for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur at Kunj Bihar Mat in Radhakund, and following this, he preached in Delhi and Gaya. News came regarding preaching successes in Burma, and notable discussions were held with a number of Western scholars. In December, he went to Patna and Allahabad, and in Allahabad delivered discourses on the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami on the original site. 1936 was to be the last year of the intense preaching, which had resulted in 64 temples being established in India and abroad. During this final year, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur met many scholars, installed deities, established more temples, and preached widely in Mayapur, Cuttack, Puri, Allahabad, Dhaka, Kut, etc., Darjeeling, Mathura, Vrindavan, where he established a Bhajan Kutir Govardhan, and then back to Kolkata, where he was constantly engaged in preaching. A doctor named Shivapada Bhattacharya tried to restrain him from so much lecturing due to his heart condition, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur replied to his entreaties, life is for the glorification of topics on Hari. If that is stopped, then what need is there to carry on life? In that same year, in discourses in Dhaka, he had made some revealing remarks in the same line. Physical illness with Hari Bhajan is preferred to physical fitness sans Hari Bhajan. Our span of life on earth is short. Our life will be crowned with success if the body wears out constant discourses on Hari. He also uttered some other aphoristic remarks at these Dhaka discourses, meetings, which due to their pithy and sutra-like nature remind one of the renowned Chanaka Pandit. And had Chanaka been a pure devotee of Krishna. We are here on earth not to work as artisans for making big buildings with wood and stone, but to work only as messengers of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Deva. We are put to test and trial in this world. Only those who attend the kirtan of the devotees can succeed. These are all quotes. A sycophant is neither a guru or a preacher. To transform the adverse desires of the jivas is the supreme beauty of the most merciful. To rescue one person from the stronghold of Mahamaya is an act of superb benevolence, far superior to opening innumerable hospitals. Every spot on earth where discourses on God are held is a place of pilgrimage. Possession of objects not related to Krishna is our main malady. Let me not desire anything but the highest good for my worst enemies. Unless we are devoted to God, secularism shall not leave us. As dalliance with the body in luxury increases, so wanes the spirit of service for the Lord. Those favored by God find their paths set by thorns. There is no peace or happiness in our worldly life. Circumstances create turmoil and annoyance. Chant the Maha Mantra loudly and with attachment. This will drive away inertia, worldly evils and pests. Be indifferent to bizarre gossips. Stick firmly to your cherished goals. No lack or impediments of the world will ever stand in your way. Pay due respect to the extroverts of the world, but do not be appreciative of their manners and conduct. They are to be shaken off from your mind. A devotee feels the presence of God everywhere, but one averse to the Lord denies his existence anywhere. You cannot appreciate transcendental matters with the reasoning of the world. It is sheer nonsense. It is sheer nonsense to decry them with the measuring stick of your intellect. To recite the name of Sri Krishna is bhakti. In October, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura sent Bhakti Saranga Maharaj to preach in England and, if possible, America. His other preachers had not been able to accomplish anything very substantial after 3 years of preaching. They had met many scholars and dignitaries, and there was one woman who had started a centre in England, but beyond that, none of their preaching had established any sizable centres, despite great expenditure on the effort. When Bhakti Saranga Maharaj later met Lord Zetland, who had very favourably received the first preachers and arranged various conferences for them, the English Lord had asked him, "Swamiji, can you make us into Brahmanas?" The reply was forthcoming, "Yes, why not?" When the Lord inquired about the restrictions, Bhakti Saranga Maharaj replied, "No meeting, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling." "Impossible," came the astounded reply, and that had reflected the conclusion of those preachers, that to actually turn malechas, meat eaters, into followers of Vedic culture was practically impossible. It continued to appear impossible with the exception of the English lady and some German scholars who became Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's disciples until Srila Prabhupada came to the West and exhibited the transcendental empowerment bestowed upon him by the grace of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura and Lord Gauranga.
It's a remark. final days. In October, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura went to Jagannath Puri, and there he exhibited his pastime of illness for some time. At the Chakat Parvata in Jagannath Puri, which is considered to be non-different than Giri Govardhan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura observed Madhvacharya's appearance day celebration and chanted verses specified for such occasions from the writings of Srila Rupa and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's writings. He also held a similar festival for his spiritual master, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. While he was passing his days in Puri, he was often heard to utter phrases from the verses of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Pratyusham me tvam kuru Govardhan Purnam. O Govardhan, please fulfill my desire. Nijana katan vasham dehi Govardhana tvam. O Govardhan, please give me a dwelling place on the banks of the pond nearby you. He also said pointedly, you all take to sincere Hari Bhajan. There are not many more days. He gave lectures in Puri for about a month and a half, and then on December 6th, he left Puri for Calcutta. At the Puri station, he was paid respects by many distinguished persons, especially due to their appreciation of his monumental activities of preaching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message in India, as well as abroad. Along the route, there was a stop in Cuttack, where he was met by Professor Sanyal and other followers, and in Calcutta, many devotees greeted him at Howrah Station and brought him to the Gaudiya Math at Bagh Bazaar. There he gave a lecture which lasted over an hour, and he covered many profound topics. He spoke of the importance of good association, the mystery of Lord Chaitanya's madness in separation in Puri, during the last days at the Gambhira, in the association of Srila Swarup Damodar and Srila Ramananda Roy. He spoke of the Guru's vision of seeing his Guru everywhere. It is my Gurudev who is graciously present in all these different forms. If he is not graciously present in all these different forms, who would then preserve me? Those whom my Gurudev has made his own are my saviours. The order of the Gurus, who have in their nature the protecting power of the divinity, are always present in different forms and figures to bestow their mercy on me. All of them are specific manifestations of Sri Guru, who confers spiritual knowledge. The transcendental reflections, which are also of the nature of supporters, are the worship of the divinity, which appear in the different planes of cognitive existences, are my Gurudev in his different forms. He who is constantly showing us how to serve Godhead throughout life is no other than our Sri Gurudev. Sri Gurudev is present in every object as the supporting principle. He is graciously present in every object. O Chuta, O Priyala, O Panas, Asana, Kovidara, O Jambu, O Aka, O Bilva, Bakula and Amra, O Kadamba and Nipa, and all you other plants and trees living by the banks of the Jamuna, who have dedicated your very existence to the welfare of others. We gopis have lost our minds, so please tell us where Krishna has gone. From the Bhagavatam 10:30, verse 9.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura also discussed the danger of discussing other topics after having admitted the topics of the Supreme Lord are superior. thereby indicating that other topics in connection with the Lord are inferior. He quoted the line from Raghunath Das Goswami's Manas Shiksha, Sada Damba Hitva, always give up pride. He discussed the necessity of being careful about offences to Vaishnavas, especially in connection to the Brahmanda Pamite, verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, particularly describing the dangerous creepers of adoration, profit and distinction. He quoted from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's Saranagati from the Dainya humility section, which begins Amara Jivana Pasada Pape Narata Nikalo Punyene Lesa. I am an impious sinner and have caused others great anxiety and trouble, in which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur feels himself to be a grossly sinful, materialistic person. The translation of which perfectly describes the life of an envious materialist serves to instruct us what qualities must be overcome in our endeavour for self-realisation, and which a self-realised person in his humility feels that he still possesses. So we've got here 1. I am an impious sinner and have caused others great anxiety and trouble. 2. I have never hesitated to perform sinful acts for my own enjoyment. Devoid of all compassion, concerned only with my own selfish interests, I am remorseful, seeing others happy. I am a perpetual liar, and the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. 3. The material desires in my heart are unlimited. I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity and bewildered by worldly affairs. Envy and egotism are the ornaments I wear. 4. Ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds, yet I am very active and enthusiastic to perform wicked acts. For worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. Thus I am destroyed by my own greed and am always lustful. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. I am such a person, devoid of all good works, forever inclined toward evil, worn out and wasted by various miseries. Now in old age, deprived of all means of success, humbled and poor, Bhaktivinoda submits his tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme Lord. It is clear from these themes that aside from personally feeling a state of profound humility, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was discussing the giving up of pride, the weeds that choke, the creeper of devotion, and the above verses were a profound instruction and warning to his disciples about how to cultivate bhakti with great humility themselves. He was aware of the fire of ordeal that was to come from them collectively and individually. Therefore he identified the anarthas and explained how to remove them without falling prey to arrogance or envy of others. The great Acharya, who was now soon to depart, was giving essential instructions about the pitfalls that would ensnare many of his disciples. In the same manner, in Srila Prabhupada's last days, he gave many warnings about cooperation and not allowing ourselves to be falsely motivated by pride or egotism. Similarly, he exhibited extreme humility, asking his god brothers to forgive him for his offences, saying that he had been proud, etc. And we see how cogent and important these warnings by the self-realised soul acharyas are, who, although having personally transcended such petty problems of heart, can clearly see the absolute necessity to warn their neophyte disciples about the stumbling blocks on the path of bhakti, both by example and precept. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura elaborated on these themes in Dhaka in 1935. Look within, amend yourself, rather than pry into the frailties of others. In this world of Maya, averse to the Lord, full of trials and tribulations, only patience, humility and respect for others are our friends for Hari Bhajan. The Lord Gaurasundara puts his devotees in various difficulties and associations to test their patience and strength of mind. Success depends on their good fortune. When faults in others misguide and delude you, have patience, introspect, find faults in yourself. Know that others cannot harm you unless you harm yourself. I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. That evening, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura gave another long lecture which centred on the theme of how to deal with an unwieldy mind. He again referred to the first verse of Manashiksha by Raghunath Das Goswami. O mind, my brother, I fall down at your feet and beg you to relish unprecedented and excessive rati in bhava, in the constant remembrance of the spiritual master, the cows, the cowherdsmen, and the milkmaids of Vraja, the loving devotees of Lord Krishna, the pure brahmanas, the living mantra, heard from the divine master which releases the mind from Maya's bondage, the holy names of Krishna, and the divine youthful couple of Vraja. Casting aside all thoughts of pride, egoism, of the mundane plane at all times and under all circumstances. He also referred to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song from the Gitavali under the topic of Shreyo Ninaya, spiritual welfare, which begins Bhajire Bhajire Ama Mana Atimanda. Worship, O worship, extremely wicked mind. He explained the song in some detail, especially the first verse. Bhajire Bhajire Ama Mana Atimanda, Bhajen Bina Gati Naire, Bhaja Bhaje Bane Radhe Krishna Charanaravinda, Jnana Kama Parihari Re, Bhaje Bane Radha Krishna. O my mind, how wicked, foolish you are. Just worship the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in the forest of Vraja. Without such worship, there are no means of spiritual advancement. Give up all speculative knowledge and materialistic activities and just worship Radha and Krishna in the forests of Vraja. On the 13th day of December 1936, at the Gaudiya Math's Auditory Hall, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura gave a very long lecture in which he covered a wide range of topics, touching again and again on the theme of the dangers of worldliness encroaching on one's spiritual endeavours. He quoted a song he had written called Nijana Anata. Tamara Kanaka Bojara Janaka Kanakera Deve Sevaka Madhava Kani Nira Kama Nahi Tavadama Tahara Malika Kevala Yadarava Pratista Satara Jaramaya Mai Mamaru Nepela Ravana Fuji Raghava Vaishnava Patishta Tatekari Nishta Taha na Bajile Albibe Rorova. Your gold is the progenitor of enjoyment. Serve Madhava with gold. The desire in your heart for beautiful women is not for you. Their only proprietor is Yadava. The tree of desire for fame is the desert of the illusory energy. Ravana did not get it by struggling against Raghava. Be dedicated to the fame of a Vaishnava. If you do not worship that, you will go to hell, Rorava. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 5.26.10, the type of person who deserves to go to hell of Rorava is described as follows. A person who accepts his body as his self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. While working to maintain himself and his family, he may commit violence against other living entities. Such a person is forced to give up his body and his family at the time of death. He suffers reaction for his envy of other creatures by being thrown into the hell called Rorava. Again, the theme of ridding oneself of anatas was strongly being preached by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Compassionately, he was urging everyone to give up pride and envy and simply immerse themselves in spreading the glories of the Lord. His mission had become an immense vehicle for this. He didn't want to fail. He quoted multiple sources to establish the point of single-minded devotion to Krishna. Finally, he concluded, "We are all sojourners on the path of death. Everyone has to die. Therefore, in this state of life, whether one is male or female, high or low, king or subject, rich or poor, learned or foolish, everyone can make this very, very rare human form of life successful by becoming a servant of the eternally pure, completely blissful Sri Hari. Even in this conditioned life, one can become liberated. Therefore, it is overwhelmingly necessary to try.
On December 23rd, 8 days before entering the eternal pastimes of the Lord, he made the following remarks. I have given anxiety to many people, as I have been compelled to speak genuinely truthful words, and as I have told people to worship Hari without any hypocrisy. There are possibly many people who even consider me to be an enemy, so that they may become eager to perform the sincere service of Sri Krishna, freed from other desires and deceitfulness. I have given various types of anxieties to numerous people. One day or other, they will certainly be able to understand this. With great enthusiasm, preach the words of Sri Rupa Raghunath to everyone. Our ultimately desirable object is to become the dust at the lotus feet of the followers of Sri Rupa. All of you remain united in allegiance to the Ashraya Vigraha, spiritual master, in order to satisfy the senses of the transcendental entity of non-dual knowledge. Everyone with the sole view of worshipping Hari will carry on life in this temporary, 2-day material existence in any way possible. Do not give up the worship of Hari even amidst hundreds of dangers, hundreds of insults, or hundreds of persecutions. Do not become unenthusiastic upon seeing that the majority of people in this world are not accepting the message of Krishna's sincere worship. Never give up the addition and glorification of the topics of Krishna. They are your own personal worship and your very all in all. Being humble like a blade of grass and patient like a tree, constantly glorify Hari. We are nurturing a desire to dedicate this good-for-nothing body in the Sankirtan sacrifice of Sri Krishna Chaitanya and his associates. We are not at all desirous of any heroism in fruit of actions or religion, but our real condition is to be the dust at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Prabhu after birth. This is our all in all. The line of Bhakti Vinod will never be closed. With even more enthusiasm, you should become engaged in preaching the desire of Bhakti Vinod's heart. Amongst you, there are many capable and accomplished men. We have no other desire at all. These are our only words. Adadanastrinam dantairidam yache puna punah. Srimad Rupa Padam Bhojo Dhuli Sham Janma Janmani. Taking a blade of grass between my teeth, I fall down again and again. Pray that I may become the dust at the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa, birth after birth. There are various types of inconveniences while staying in this world, but there is no need for us to become extremely afflicted by these inconveniences or to try to dispel these inconveniences. While staying here, it is necessary for us to gain an introduction to what our eternal life will be and to what entity we will attain after all these inconveniences have been removed. Here, it is compulsory to make decisions about all those objects which attract and repel us in various ways, both that which I want to and do not want. We will be drawn by the attractions and repulsions of this place to the same degree as the amount of intervening distance there is between us and the lotus feet of Krishna. When we go beyond the attractions and repulsions of this world and are attracted by the transcendental name, then this topics about the mela of service to Krishna can be understood. At the present time, the topics about Krishna are greatly startling and perplexing. Adventitious occurrences are obstructing our eternally needed realization. To eliminate these, everyone who holds the name of a human being is more or less consciously or unconsciously engaged in a struggle. To enter into that eternally needed kingdom beyond all duality is our only necessity. In this world, we do not have any attachment or aversion towards anybody. All the arrangements of this world are momentary. That supreme desideratum is indispensably necessary for every single person. May all of you, with one aim and in a single voice, attain the right of serving the original Ashraya Vigraha. May the flow of thought of Sri Rupa's followers stream over the world. May we never, in any condition whatsoever, show aversion to the sacrifice of chanting the 7-tongued Sankirtan of Sri Krishna. If there is ever increasing attachment for this, perfection on all sides will be achieved. May all of you, by the earnest pursuance of Sri Rupa's followers, preach the words of Sri Rupa Raghunath in a fearless voice with supreme enthusiasm. Disappearance Nitya Leela. On the morning of December 31st, 1936, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura requested Sripad B.R. Sridhar Maharaj to sing Sri Rupa Manjari by Srila Narottam Das Thakur and Sripad Navin Krishna Vidyalankar to sing the Shikshashtaka. In the forenoon, he requested the editor of the Gaudiya magazine to see to it that the Vaishnava Manjusha, casket of Vaishnava vocabulary, would be compiled and published. In his last days, he had specifically requested that his disciples form a governing body commission, GBC, of 10 or 12 devotees to manage the society's affairs. Two of his last statements were, "Love and rupture, both should have the same end in view." Thakur Narottam lived on the principles of Rupa Raghunath. It is good to follow that path. To all he announced, "Please accept my blessings to you all, present and absent. Please bear in mind, our sole duty and religion is to spread and propagate service to the Lord and his devotees." Thus the great Acharya, the Simha Guru, the uncompromising sadhu, the Vaikuntha man, as Srila Prabhupada once described him, the tireless preacher of the pure teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, left this material world uttering the name of Krishna at about 5:30 a.m. on Thursday, January 1st, 1937, and entered the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, having firmly established the foundation of a spiritual movement which would be carried around the world by his pure servant, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Samadhi. After Om Vishnupad 108, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada's disappearance pastime, his transcendental body was worshipped with scented oil, flowers, and sandalwood paste. Then his spiritual body was brought before the deities in the Sri Sarasvati Auditory Hall and decorated with flowers, garlands, and cloth. There the appropriate worship and arati was performed. After this, an immense Sankirtan procession carried the divine form to Sealdah railway station. Along the way, thousands had a final darshan. From Krishnanagar, he was moved by motor car to Swarupganj and carried with the Sankirtan procession to Sridham Mayapur. A huge crowd of devotees and onlookers had gathered, and there was an immense outpouring of grief and separation, but simultaneously a constant glorification of the holy name of Krishna. First, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was brought to Yogapit, then to Srivas Angana, and then to Sri Advaita Bhavan. Finally, he was brought to Sri Rajapatan, the place of his intense bhajan where he had performed the vow of chanting 1,000,000,000 names. He was taken to the front of the samadhi of Om Vishnupad Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj by the banks of the Radhakund, and then to the Sri Avidyaharana Natya Mandir, where tremendous kirtan was held for the whole night. The work on the samadhi was immediately begun by sannyasis, babajis, brahmacharis, grihastas, and vanaprastas, who had all taken shelter at his lotus feet. At the end of the night samadhi, mantras were written on his body according to the directions of the Samskara Dipika by Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. His spiritual body was then brought to the samadhi site and placed on a throne of white marble. His feet were anointed with aguru and sandalwood paste, and the flowers offered to his feet collected. Flower garlands were offered around his neck, and tulsi plants were sown on all sides. His favorite songs were sung, Sri Rupa Manjari, Svananda Sukada Kunja Manohar, and Yashamati Nandana. Then, chanting Jayanilo Premadhana, the devotees circumambulated the Samadhi site 4 times. The Samadhi was covered with earth and surrounded by tulsi on all 4 sides, marked with the sign of tilak and covered with flower garlands. Then a fire sacrifice offering a bhoga and arti were performed, and there were readings from the Disappearance of Srila Haridas Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's poems from the end of his Anubhashya. Thus, the Acharya's son, as he had been called by his father Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, passed from earthly vision and he entered the eternal pastimes of the Lord. I'm going to sing Jashamati Nandana. Everyone wants to find. It's on page 62 of this book. Jashamati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana 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 Gopi Parana Dhana Madana Manohara 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 Kali Adamana Vidhana Kali Adamana Kali Adamana Vidhana Kali Adamana Vidhana Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Amala Harina Mamiya Vilasa Vipena Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsi Vadana Suvasha Vipena Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsi Vadana Suvasha Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsi Vadana Suvasha Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsi Vadana Suvasha Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajavana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godhana Rakhavala Nanda Godhana Rakhavala Nanda Godhana Rakhavala Nanda Godhana Rakhavala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundara Nanda Gopala Sundara Nanda Gopala Sundara Nanda Gopala Sundara Nanda Gopala Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Pasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya 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 Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara 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 Bhakati Vinodashaya Bhakati Vinodashaya Bhakti Vinodashaya, Bhakti Vinodashaya, Jashamati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana, Jashamati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana, Jashamati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana, Jashamati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Lord Krishna is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the transcendental lover in the land of Raj, the delight of Gokul. Kana, a nickname of Krishna, the wealth of the lives of the gopis. He steals the mind of even Cupid and punishes the Kaliya serpent.
Hari. No, that's the play. Are full of sweet nectarian pastimes. Krishna is the Lord of the 12 forests of Braj. He is ever youthful and is the best of lovers. He is always playing on a flute and he is an excellent dresser.
Krishna is the protector of the inhabitants of Raj, the destroyer of various demoniac dynasties, the keeper and tender of Nanda Maharaj's cows, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land and spiritual senses, the husband of the goddess of fortune, the butter thief, and the beautiful cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj.
Krishna wanders along the banks of the river Yamuna. He saw the garments of the young damsels of Raj who were bathing there. He delights in the mellows of the rasa dance. He is very merciful, the lover and beloved of Srimati Radharani, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the shelter and only refuge of Thakur Bhakti Vinod.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada especially commented on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's powerful preaching against casteism and sahajiyas, and how effective he was at debunking these very strongly rooted influences in Indian cultural and religious traditions. This was practically one of his most important contributions, coupled with his constant axe blows against the impersonalists and voidists. He also did much to establish a unifying influence on the various Vaishnava sects by stressing the points of agreement shared by the four major sampradayas. He published the writings of the other Vaishnavacharyas, especially Srila Madhvacharya and Srila Ramanujacharya, and also published accounts of their lives. In his travels throughout India, and especially South India, he enjoyed a reputation as an incredibly powerful debater and received the title Simha Guru, Lion Guru. Various proponents of the Mayavadi school would cross the street rather than confront him, and he was known to accost such scholars and chastise them for cheating the innocent public with false philosophy. He established 64 temples, 17 in Navadvip Mandal, including the 29 pinnacled Sri Chaitanya Mat, Sri Advaita Bhavana, Sri Shiva Sangan, the large temple at the site of Yogapit, which was opened by the king of Tripura in 1935. Svavananda Sukhada Kunja, the place of bhajan and samadhi of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Moda Druma Gauriya Mat, the site of Vrindavan Das Thakur's appearance, and many others.
He established 13 more in other parts of Gauda Mandala and Bengal, notably Sri Gaudiya Math in Calcutta, first established at number 1 Ulta Danga Junction Road in 1920, and which later shifted to the Marble Temple in Bagh Bazar. 5 more were established in Sri Kshetra Mandal at Puri, Alalanath, Bhuvaneshwar, and Cuttack. In Vraj Mandal, 10 temples were established in Vrindavan, Mathura, Vashana, Nandagram, Hodal, Govardhan, Radhakunda, etc. 14 more were established in other important sites in India: Assam, Madras, Bihar, Benares, Allahabad, Naimisharanya, Haridwar, Delhi, Kurukshetra, Balishwara, Bombay, Gaya, and Kuvur, the sites of the talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. Outside of India, temples were established in Rangoon and small centers in London and Germany. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura established many presses and printed thousands of books. In 1928, he even established a daily newspaper called the Nadia Prakash. When challenged how it was possible to publish a daily newspaper about God, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura explained how this world was a small place, only 1/4 of the creation compared to the spiritual world, which comprises of the other 3/4. He further replied, "Here in this world there are thousands of newspapers and magazines reporting the stale, repetitious happenings of this limited space. So for reporting the news of the unlimited spiritual realm concerning the eternal, ever-fresh Supreme Personality of Godhead, we could publish a newspaper at every second, what to speak of daily." His presses were the Bhagavat Yantra, Bhagavat Press, established in Calcutta in 1913, the Gaudiya Printing Works, established in Calcutta in 1923, the Nadia Prakash Printing Press, established in Mayapur in 1928, and the Paramati Printing Works, established in 1936 in Cuttack, Orissa. He established the following magazines: Sajjana Toshani, established in 1881 by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, later taken over by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, and renamed The Harmonist in English Monthly. The Gaudiya, the first magazine, established in 1922 as the official weekly journal of the Gaudiya Math. The Nadia Prakash, established in 1926, initially as an English-Bengali magazine, but later a daily newspaper, the Bhagavata, established in 1931 as a Hindi fortnightly. The Paramati, established in 1932, a fortnightly Orion magazine, and Kirtana, established in 1932, an Assamese monthly. He personally wrote over 108 essays and books listed fully in Appendix 1, and aside from these, he also published hundreds of articles in the Sajjana Toshani, Nivedana, Gaudiya, and Nadia Prakash. Apart from his own writing, he also published many other books: the Bhagavad Gita with commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc. 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam with commentary by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Madhavacharya, and others. The Chaitanya Bhagavat with his Gaudiya Bhasa, the Sri Chaitanya Chandramrita, and Navadvip Sanktaka by Srila Prabodhananda Sarasvati, the Vedanta Tattvasara by Srila Ramanujacharya, the Mani Manjari by Srila Madhavacharya, the Sadacharya Smriti by Srila Madhavacharya, the Navadvip Dhamma Granthamala by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, an English version of the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, and 2,000 copies of Srila Narottam Das Thakur's Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and Sri Chaitanya Mangal by Lochana Das Thakur, the Brahma Samhita with Srila Jiva Goswami's comments, and his own Gaudiya Bhashya. He also edited countless of books by his father and was prepared to do much more. He met with many scholars, leaders, and educators and established Krishna consciousness as a great science, worthy of the highest esteem. He had interviews and debates with the acharyas of other schools of thought and was never defeated, thus establishing the Achintya Veda Veda Tattva philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the supreme doctrine of all time. He also propagated theistic displays and diorama exhibitions in Kurukshetra in 1928, 1933, and 1936, in Mayapur in 1930, in Calcutta in 1930, 1931, and Dhaka in 1933, in Patna, Bihar in 1933, in Kashi, Benares in 1933, and in Prayag, Allahabad in 1936. These exhibitions were free and was staged with the help of toys, dolls, pictures, writings, and even mechanical devices for moving the dolls, describing the Leelas of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, etc. Generally, these exhibitions were held for 15 days, but occasionally longer according to popular demand. He also established several important parakrams in the dhams, especially in Navadvip Dham Parakram and the Vraj Mandal Parakram, which were both originally set in motion by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, setting the example as the greatest devotee of Krishna. The whole purpose of organizing these huge undertakings in which thousands took part was to arouse the awareness of the reality of the Lord's pastimes in the minds of the pilgrims. He also discovered many pilgrimage sites of Lord Chaitanya and his associates' pastimes and established Padapita's lotus feet markers on many sites of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching pastimes from his pilgrimage tour of India. Srila Sarasvati Thakura always emphasized kirtan and talks about Krishna and called his press the Brihat Mridanga, meaning the greater Mridanga, which could be heard far and wide as opposed to just a few books. He preached the theme of Daivi Varnashram very rigorously in the line of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as well as the division of devotional writings into 3 categories: Sambandha, establishing one's relationship with the Lord; Abhideya, acting according to one's constitutional relationship with God; and Prayojana, the ultimate goal of life, love of God. He particularly stressed the line of thought coming down from Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the acharyas of Abhideya and Prayojana tattvas respectively. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was an innovator in many ways. Although sannyasis traditionally never used any conveyances with the expectation of ox carts, he rode in motor carts, motorized boats, etc. Although sannyasis never wore sewn cloth, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura and his preachers on occasion wore overcoats, kurtas, etc. He utilized the radio for broadcasting his message and sent sannyasis over the sea, which was considered revolutionary. All of this innovation was strictly in the mood of spreading the glories of the Lord and engaging people in Krishna consciousness. He adhered strictly to the principles of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but with a view to liberate people. His principle of renunciation was the type described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Yukta Vairagya, engaging the illusory energy fully in the service of Krishna. For himself, he was never influenced by any desire or adoration of any other sort of sense gratification, being an eternally liberated servitor of the Lord. Armed with the books of the Goswamis and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he fought against deviant sects like the Owls, Bowls, Kata Bhajas, Nedha, Dabesh, Shai, Atitari, Churadhari, and all other malpractices, nonsense theories, Mayavadis, atheists, etc. He was indomitable. Once in Dhaka, where there was a great prominence of Sahajiyas and caste-conscious people, the word was passed around that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura sannyasis and brahmacharis should not be given any alms, and that the doors shall be shut in their faces. When his disciples asked him what to do, he replied that if necessary they should subsist off Ganges water alone, but not give up distributing Lord Chaitanya's message. With great determination to continue to preach, they continued to preach, gradually received help, and ultimately a nice center was established in Dhaka despite so much opposition. His physical appearance was tall, he had long arms, a slender body, broad forehead, aquiline nose, intense eyes, golden complexion, and he was full of ecstatic love of God. His presence was amiable and majestic. He was well versed in all subjects, scriptures, having devoured and memorized many libraries. He was called the living encyclopedia. He knew Sanskrit, Bengali, English, astronomy, and many other branches of knowledge. He was very courageous, had unlimited capacity for preaching, and was naturally decorated with all 26 qualities of a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada once commented when asked about His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj, "What can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man."
I'm just going to take one moment to explain. This morning, in this morning's class, Analanath Prabhu was talking about the glories of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He also mentioned in that two gentlemen from Germany came. Germany was a great preaching area. And two people from Germany came to India and they were preaching. One of them I know, I'm not sure about the two. One of them, whose name was Sarananda, he took initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. When the war broke out, he was interned along with many other German persons into a camp because of the war. Now, during that time, he actually built a relationship, as he did with many people, but one Walter Itzlitz. And Walter Itzlitz actually said, he called Sarananda's zealousness aggressive grace. His preaching was aggressive grace. But what actually happened, Walter, he actually wrote a book called Unknown India, and that's the basis of this book here. And you can actually see the intro there is glorified to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. So I just wanted to share that because a lot of people don't actually realise the distant relationship going on with this book, and it is a wonderful book. And it is in the Krishna Farm book shop, the Krishna Farm shop. Yep, over there.
Pushpanjali now.
Should be fine. So now we'll be doing Pushpanjali. So if everyone could come and offer some flowers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miritam Yena तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं साद्वदूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखं वितंश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेश तारिणे नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती इति नामिने श्रीवर्षवानभि देवी दयिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्ध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वला प्रेमद्य श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा श्रीगौर करुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्तये दिनतारिणे रूपानुग विरुद्धाप सिद्धान्त द्वन्द्वहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्य मूर्तये विप्रलम्भ रसम्भोदे पदाम्भोजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्द नामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगा वरायते गौरविर्भाम भूमिस्त्वं निर्दिष्ट सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः पंचकल्प तरुभ्यश्च कृपसिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावधन्याय कृष्णप्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattva Atmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupam Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madanamohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasana Stau Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalivi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamshi Vatatatastitaha Karshan Venu Sunair Gopir Gopinata Shriyastunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Esha Pushpanjali Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Esha Pushpanjali Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Esha Pushpanjali Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura ki
Samsara dava nalalita loka Pranaya karunya gana ganatvam Samsara dava nalalita loka Pranaya Karunya Gana Gana Samsara Dava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karunya Gana Ganatha Loka Pranaya Karunya Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Praptasya Kalyana Gunana Vasya Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Mahaprabhu Kirtanya Nritya Gita Varitramajan Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Kirtanya Nritya Gita Varitramajan Manasura Mahaprabhu Kirtanya Nritya Gita Varitramajan Manasura Sena Kirtanya Nritya Gita Varitramajan Romanchakamba Sutaranga Bhajo Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Romanchakamba Sutaranga Bhajo Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Romanchakamba Sutaranga Bhajo Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Sutaranga Bhajo Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Shivigrahara Dhanani Chanana Swingara Tan Mandira Majanadu Shivigrahara Dhanani Chanana Swingara Tan Mandira Majanadu Shivigrahara Dhanani Chanana Swingara Tan Mandira Majanadu Dhanani Chanana Yukta Sabhaktam Shanayan Chatopi Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Yukta Sabhaktam Shanayan Chatopi Vande Gurosi Charana Yukta Sabhaktam Shanayan Chatopi Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Chato Vidha Sri Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Sri Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chato Vidha Sri Bhagavat Prasada Sadvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Hari Bhakta Kridvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Kridvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Gurosi Charana Kridvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Gurosi Charana Ravinda Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhuya Lila Gunarupanam Nam Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhuya Lila Shri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhuya Lila Gunarupanam Nam Madhavayora Para Madhuya Lila Gunarupanam Pratikshana Swadana Lolapasya Vande Gurosi Charanaravinda Swadana Lolapasya Vande Gurosi Pratikshana Swadana Lolapasya Vande Gurosi Charanaravinda Kunjayo no rati kali siddhai Yaya libeyo kira peksani Kunjayo no rati kali siddhai Yaya libeyo kira peksani Kunjayo no rati kali siddhai Yaya libeyo kira peksani Rati gai siddhai Ayane deyo kira bhaktani Tatrati daksha rati valebhasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Tatrati daksha rati valebhasya Tatrati daksha rati valebhasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Tatrati daksha rati valebhasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Sakshadaritena samasta sastre Uktastatha bhavyatarev sadbhim Samasta sastre Uktastatha bhavyatarev sadbhim Sakshadaritena samasta sastre Uktastatha bhavyatarev sadbhim Sakshadaritena samasta sastre Uktastatha bhavyatarev sadbhim Kintu prabhaya priya eva tasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Ya priya eva tasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Kintu prabhaya priya eva tasya Vande gurosi charanaravinda Yasa prasada bhagavat prasado Yasa prasada nagatika tropi Bhagavat prasado Yasa prasada nagatika tropi Yasa prasada bhagavat prasado Yasa prasada nagatika tropi Dayam Subham Sasaya Sasri Sanjam Vande Gurosi Charanaravinda Dayam Subham Sasaya Sasri Sanjam Vande Gurosi Charanaravinda Jaya Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura ki. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesa Sunyavari Paschachara Satarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Iti Namine Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Sri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gaurani Jaya, Jaya Gaurani Jaya, Jaya Gaurani Jaya, Jaya Gaurani Jaya. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada. Jayam Vishwahad, Paramahamsa Parivakacharya, Stadara Sada Shishimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Vishmahad Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Stadara Sada Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Goswami Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Seka Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavanam Ki. Mayapur Dham Ki. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Yamuna Maya Ki. Tulsi Devi Ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki. Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Priyatmadanga Book Distribution Ki. Transcendental Prashadam Distribution Ki. Transcendental Cow Protection Ki. New Govardhana Nam Ki. The Divine Disappearance Day of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Maharaj Ki. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Maharaj Ki. Go Premanandi, Hare Hare Bol. All glories to Samba devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samba devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samba devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Gunchi Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadaine. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadaine. Hiranyakashipurvaksha Shilatankanakalaye. Ito nismo parato nismo, to nismo parato. Yato yato yamita to nismo, yato yamita to nismo. Oh vaye nismo, ridaye nismo, nismo ridaye. Narasimhamalim Sharanam Prabhade. O Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranya Kashivurdhano Vinga Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare Navakara Kamalavare Nakamadhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipurdhano Vinga Keshavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadesha Hare Jayan Smare, Jayan Smare, Jayan Smare, Jayan Smare. Jaya Pala Maharaj, Pala Maharaj, Pala Maharaj, Jaya Pala Maharaj. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol. स्मरे भगवान की, प्रहलाद महाराज की, जानिताय गौ प्रमानंद।